Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, here we go again. As I get a little older, a little grayer, a little wiser, sometimes the best stories slip my mind until you get something that basically kicks you in the backside and makes you remember. Yesterday I had to go take an MRI. Magnetic resonant imaging for my knees. I'm getting a little up there now, so probably going to have surgery on it. But it made me think about the last time I had an MRI. That stuff was brand new and just come out, and I was a whopping 17 years old. I was a junior at El Dorado High School. Lived with my family out in Parker's Chapel. And I actually had hair down on my shoulders. I was a grocery clerk, or courtesy clerk, at Brookshire's. Back when they wore dress shoes, dress slacks, white t-shirts, bow ties, and a red apron. Rain, spring, or shine. Not like nowadays where they're wearing jeans and a t-shirt. I generally worked every Sunday, and on Sundays, I always left work or home hours so early and would go to Howard's Newsstand out behind where Main Street Pizza currently is. Now, Howard's Newsstand had every kind of, it was basically like a old school bookstore without the books. You know, it had every magazine, every newspaper, and the best thing of all, had comic books. I was an addict. Back in the 80s, early 90s, I collected comic books. Look, your boy was dyslexic at one time, and I got started reading and reading good by reading comic books. You know, if you look behind me, you see some bookshelves filled with some classics, and they all got started by comic books. But I digress. And it was the middle of summer. It ain't been hotter than hell. Felt like a fresh fish thrown into a hot skillet. It was hot. And lo and behold, this day we had happened to get a little bit of rain. Made it nice and steamy. Just light mist falling. But anybody that knows anything about driving and roads, what happens after a while when you don't have any rain and all of a sudden you get a little? It brings all the oils and the silt and the slimy stuff to the top, and it floats on a thin layer of water. And it makes everything slicker than goose shit. Yeah, you can tell I'm getting a little nervous about this because this was a life-changing event for me. I lived in Parker's Chapel and was headed into town. I was doing the speed limit. I swear to God I was. I was in nowhere hurry. I was coming up on Line O, and Line O has this nice, wonderful S-turn. But right before that, there was a little convenience store there. Didn't have sodas and stuff, you know. Mr. Johnny, he sold Red Wing boots and thermal underwear and working man gear right out behind Line O. Look at the man, you thought he was a broke-ass farmer. Man was a multi-millionaire. I liked the old cars he had parked out front, so I stopped and I got to where I'd talk to him. But I wasn't stopping that day. Neither did that 18-wheeler. See, right beside Mr. Johnny's, there was a place where the 18-wheelers pulled out after they loaded up with all their chemicals and stuff from Line O. And this fella had loaded up, fully loaded, and pulled up to a stop sign. I had the right of way. But I got a feeling his brains weren't working too well because he didn't stop. He rolled on through that stop sign and pulled right out in front of me. And I locked it up. Boy, I turned my boxer shorts into a thong that day. Ooh, my ass cheeks were puckered. I had my arms fully locked out, my legs locked out. I was driving a stick shift, threw that son of a bitch down in first gear and dumped the clutch. I probably dropped that transmission. I was doing about 45, 50, speed limit, whatever it was right back then. Now, in that moment, as I was sliding toward this 18-wheeler, I had several thoughts. Mama gonna whoop my ass if I wreck this car. Jesus Christ, I'm gonna be late for work. I'm about to have a wreck. Now, they say your life flashes before your eyes. But at 17, I hadn't really had much of a life, so it was a split-second show. But my brother had umpteen million wrecks and walked away. And I had that one final thought, I'm not going to walk away from this. Because that 18-wheeler pulled out in front of me, and he wasn't going fast enough. I'll say it this way. I was fortunate I dead centered his left rear tires. If I'd gone 2-3 feet that way, I would have gone under this tanker. It had clipped me right about here. And it was loaded down with volatile chemicals, and then it exploded. 2-3 feet that way, I would have missed his left rear tires. But there was this giant natural gas main sitting out in front of this gas station. I'd have blown up the gas station, the local gas main. And being close to line, there could have been one hell of an explosion. And yours truly would have been burnt popcorn. Y'all don't want that. Well, I hit that sumbitch. And it turned that car into an accordion. It didn't wrinkle the front end. It didn't wrinkle just the roof. It didn't wrinkle just the back end. It wrinkled the whole damn thing. Next thing I know is I'm barely opening my eyes. And I see Charles Vance. It happened right in front of his parents' M&A wrecking. And he's busting the car window out, getting the keys, shutting it off, getting me out of the car. There was somebody else there with him, but I didn't remember. In fact, I didn't remember for 20-something years. And at the 20th reunion, I was talking to a fellow named Shane Faulkner. I went to school with both these boys. For some reason, I was always having nightmares about this wreck, and I'd see the Four Faces of Kiss. Kiss, the rock band, floating in front of me, covered in blood, and I never could figure it out. Shane Faulkner answered that for me. He was the big boy that picked me up out of the car. Shane happened to be a Kiss fan. He happened to have a shirt that had the Four Faces of Kiss on it, and my head had evidently leaned against him, and I bled all over him, and when I looked back, I just saw blood going down those faces, and somehow my subconscious remembered it, but I didn't. 20 years later, he finally explained a nightmare I had for many years about this wreck. Best part is when ambulance showed up, the cops showed up, everybody else showed up. They go, well, where's the corpse? I stood up, turned around, and went, here. The looks on their faces was, oh shit. What I didn't know is at the time, my scalp from right here to back here and about yay wide was hanging from my windshield. It ripped it off. And the look on their face was sheer terror. And that's why when I tell people I'm in the head, My head really did get cracked. Drive slow, drive safe. Have a good one.